morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for what is the actual first webinar of 2023 that True Union is offering. This webinar is for both our appraiser and credit union partners. And in this one, we attempt to take you behind the scenes at an AMC and try and show you what we do behind the scenes, and it's not all secret. A couple of housekeeping items. Everybody on the webinar is in mute. If you have any questions, I will give you my email address at the end of the webinar. Please email me. I would really enjoy that. Also, I try and do the webinar in less than 1 hour, usually about 45 minutes, so that we don't take up a lot of your time. Depending on time, I might be able to take you into our system. I'm not quite sure how that will go, since this is the first one that we have done. So with that, let's get going. Thank you very much for joining us. So I want to start by debunking some of the myths. I'm an appraiser. I see what appraisers say about AMCs and have been saying for many, many years. And I think that some of it I feel is a little unfair. And I really wanted to put forward our philosophy and what we try to do in being transparent and open to both our appraiser and credit union partners. So I want to debunk some of those myths. The first one is we do not take fees out of appraiser's pocket. That is something that is out there, and that is absolutely not what we want to do. Our clients pay a fee for what is called appraisal services. And included in that service, or usually it's actually the borrower that pays it, is a management fee for us to manage the appraisal services for our credit unions. And I'm going to show you what we do for that fee. There is then a fee for the appraiser for their services and what they do. And I can assure you the appraisal fee is a lot more than our fee. So we're not there to try and take money out of the appraiser's pocket. We want to pay customer reasonable fees, but we are a for-profit organization, so we have to make a living. We have employees to pay, and in that way, our clients do not have to employ people to manage that appraisal service or use technology to do that, or whatever they need to do to be able to do that and protect appraiser independence. The second thing is we are not ignorant of appraiser methodology and practice. We have appraisers. All our staff in our company do actually complete a USPAP class. We're not total idiots, even though some appraisers might think that we are or talk to us as if we are. We do understand what we're doing, and we do understand appraising. We consider both our appraisers and our clients partners, partners in the way that we deliver appraisal services. And so we cannot do it without really fantastic appraisers. We cannot do it without really fantastic clients. And we really enjoy the partnership that we have. The next thing is that we do not work with what I call bottom feeder appraisers. And I think we've seen a lot of this come out of the woodwork in the last, probably in the last few months, where basically appraisers are offering their services at a cut fee. And then some predatory AMCs are offering appraisals at a really cheap rate and then making their margin on top of that. And that's not what we do. That is not how we want to work. I believe that you get what you pay for. And so we work with, we're not going to cut fees just because work isn't as busy. Now, what I did tell a lot of our clients last year, or particularly the year before, when we were busy, it was necessary for fees to go up in order for them to get the best appraiser. Those fees went straight to the appraiser. It did not impact our management fee. So we have to do that sometimes when we're busy in order to make sure that we're using the best appraisers out there and that we get good turn times and qualities. The fees will kind of go up, but those fees have not gone down since we did that. You guys are all at the same level and still constant. So kind of open and transparent about fees. There is no secret on that. We'll talk a little about that. Service and quality matter to us. It is much easier to turn around an appraisal report quickly if the appraisal report is good. And we don't have to worry about getting revisions or compliance or whatever. So service and quality matter. And of course, in situations like we have right now with less work, we would expect turn times to go down, and they have significantly. So we work with appraisers that are able to provide that service and quality. And we reward the appraisers that have consistently over the last few years offered that service and quality. So during busy times, if appraisers were willing to take the assignments and provide great service and quality, they're getting the work now. And some people who kind of crawled out of the woodwork, who were turning down assignments for us, maybe are not able to get the work now. So yes, there are, that is what we want to see. Revisions are sometimes necessary. I know some of them seem a little silly, but they are necessary sometimes. We want to make sure that we are delivering to our client a report that can be underwritten very quickly. So yes, you will have revisions sometimes. We try to get those all up front so that the underwriter doesn't come back and ask you for something. If there is an underwriting condition, it is typically because of some change or something that has come up. Maybe it is something came up in the title, or maybe the contract change. So we try to get everything up front. Reconsiderations of value, kind of bane of everybody's life, whether it's a client or an appraiser. We do read these. And we're going to talk about that a little later. We do review them, read them, and we make sure that appraiser independence is protected. I will talk about that. Paying our appraisers on time is very important to us. If you are an appraiser partner with us, you know that we pay every Friday. If you have direct deposit, it's going to go right into your bank account. We pay, we try to pay, or we do pay according to state compliance, and we pay on time, and we are not going to ask you to wait for your payment. And we'll talk about how we pay our appraisers. So let's peel back and see what we do. I have included in our session a lot of screenshots, and if we have the opportunity, we might be able to get onto the system live. Never quite sure about doing that, but we may be able to do that. So how we set fees, probably the most important thing, one of the things that you really want to know. So I'm going to tell you right up front, a couple of very important things. We always pay customary and reasonable fees. And our objective is to make a $125 management fee. With that $125 per assignment, which actually is probably realistically totally more around $105. We pay our employees, we pay for technology, we pay for everything that you're about to see, and hopefully make a profit. So there is in the fee to the client a management fee that is built in. So we agree to our fees with our client, and then we pay our appraisers a customary and reasonable fee. And we, our objective is to get that $125 management fee. I would love it if we could do what is called a cost plus model, where we have an appraiser's fee and then we charge a fixed fee above. There are problems with that, and the reason it's not done is because of disclosure. A client wants to be able to disclose the fee, so we have to start with that fee. And then, if we had that, we may not be able to find appraisers, and and the fee would be jumping up and down. And so this is why most AMCs do it like this, because of the disclosure requirements. The fee has to be disclosed. So we try and have a very open, established and approved fee schedule for each of our clients. And I'm going to show you a fee schedule, what it looks like for a client. And we try to take into that, take every situation possible into that to avoid having to go to a bid situation because of the disclosure requirements. Our clients want to disclose. Fee differences reflect different assignment types. So it may be a 1004, it may be a multifamily, and location. And there is a margin built into it, as you'll see with our fee schedules for complexity. And that fixed but flexible fee sheet allows our clients to make accurate disclosures during that loan process. So we want to make sure that every eventuality, or most eventualities, are taken into account within the fee schedule. So we sometimes have to have fee quotes. They're usually utilized for atypical properties and assignments, or commercial properties. We also take bids on commercial properties. We continually monitor the fees and make adjustments as necessary. But adjustments are not made very often to the fee schedule, to the client's fee schedule. And that is because, we want consistency. As I said, we had to make adjustments with the volume of business in 2021. But, we want to make sure that everybody knows and everybody's aware, and we have full transparency on this. So this is probably something that I'm sure for the appraisers in the room, they're not being told how fees are arrived at and how they get their fees. And so let's look at what this fee table looks like. So this is a fee table that will go out to a client. This client's probably situated in Tennessee or somewhere like that, because we put the primary states at the top. So if they were in Texas, we would have had the Texas fee on top there. So as you can see, there are all the types of appraisals across the top. So you have 1004, 1073, multifamily, 1004D. And we have a fee that the client pays there for a standard and then one for a complex. So we then let our clients know what we consider complex. So that is 10 to 20 acres, a house that's over 4,000 square feet or under 600 square feet, rural location, you know, as defined by however many miles that client wants to agree to. So this is out in the open. So if you are an appraiser in Tennessee, for example, under this particular client's fee schedule, you can expect to get a fee of around $400, $400 plus or minus, and probably $425 for a non-complex property. Now, quotes are needed for rush orders, catastrophic disaster inspections over 20 acres, multiple sites, historic homes, waterfront properties. So there are various things that need some kind of quote. And then there are additional add-on products that we try to include. And we do AVMs as well, so that's in there. And then there's we put the cancellation fee down there. And the whole thing is to be perfectly transparent. We got nothing to hide. And some of the states that you're located in require you to disclose your fee. So it would be pretty mean of us if we were getting a $525 fee in Tennessee and only paying you $300, right? That would be completely greedy and not fair, and that's not what we want to do, and we're not going to take appraisers. Now, some of you may be in locations where those fees may be lower, or the client pays a lower fee, and that's agreed upon. So that's just where we are, and every state is different, and clients are different. So wanted to make sure that you have that right up front and properly. I'm not sure if anyone has ever told you that. So the next thing that I'd like to discuss is how we approve appraisers onto our panel. And appraisers coming onto our panel may be recruited. We may have a credit union that moves to a different state or buys up a bank in a different state, or we may have a new credit union we bring on. And they may be in a particular area, and we may have to go out there and recruit new appraisers. Or appraisers are absolutely, they can sign up on their own and individually. An appraiser will go, a potential new appraiser is instructed to go to our appraiser registration form that's available on our website, which you can see on the right-hand side. And you're going to be asked for copies of license, insurance, W-9, and 2 appraisal samples. That registration that you fill out on our website directly links into our order management system. So once you have completed everything on the registration, you will become active in our system. Although you're not ready to take, actually you're not actually active, but you'll be in our system. We then instruct one of our reviewers to review your samples. Once that has been reviewed and your application has been reviewed, you will become active as under probation under our system, and we'll have to complete a certain amount of appraisals before you actually become active. The form allows you to pick your coverage area and area of expertise. But what I really wanted to make sure that you understand is that I know a lot of AMCs do ask for those appraisal samples, but they never get reviewed. Some don't even ask. We actually do review every single one, and to make sure that you are completing appraisal assignments to the standard that we want. I think we have actually outstanding only about 5 open applications we have not reviewed. So we are pretty good about keeping on that. It is a fairly major task, but we do review samples. So each of you who are doing appraisals for us, you passed the test and you're in. So as I said, once you have completed your application, it creates in our system an appraiser profile, and we have all kinds of information on you based on that. I think right now, looks like we have just under 6,000 active appraisals. And I said, actually, 6 pending appraisers. There are 6 that are waiting for, waiting to be brought on for their samples to be looked at, or perhaps some of their questions, the way they answered them, we need to kind of just review what they are. So we have one right here that we show. It has their address, company name. You know, we like to know what kind of software you're using, how much experience you have, etc., etc. So this is what it looks like. One of the things we do try to do is also you know, make sure that we know what kind of capacity you want. We don't want to overload you as an appraiser. There is a questionnaire as part of the application period. It's not really anything difficult. It's, you know, whether you've had any disciplinary action in the last 10 years or you have an open investigation, if you have been convicted of a felony or any lawsuits. Now, if you have to answer yes to one of these, it doesn't immediately mean you're disqualified from working with us. We understand that mistakes are made and things come up, and we will review those to ensure that you know, steps are being taken to remedy those. But make sure that your license is still active with the National Registry. So that's what that questionnaire. So on the other side, how do we onboard new credit unions? So very similar, somewhat similar kind of practice. It actually starts with a kind of a form in our online, a client information form. So when we onboard a client, there's a lot of exchange of information, things going back and forth. The first thing is this, just a very simple one to know kind of, you know, what kind of volume, what are you looking for? Do you want us to submit to Fannie Freddie portal? What kind of appraisal reports you're having? And then the accounting details. So this is the initial thing for a client to do. We then send you information on us. We send our due diligence package, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. References of existing credit union clients. We send a copy of our current SOC audit. I'll talk about the SOC audit a little bit for those who don't know what that is. We will talk about technology integrations. For the appraisers that are on this webinar, you may not be aware, but we have a lot of integrations with our credit union clients. We integrate our system directly with their their LOS system, their loan system. And this allows a free transfer of information back and forth, so that they don't have to go onto our website to enter appraisal orders. Basically, they press a button and order an appraisal. So we'll talk about those integrations. So a lot of that is done at the initial onboarding, setting up those integrations. And then there's a service agreement that we all sign, and then we're kind of ready to go. We can actually, providing that we have the technology integration, we can do this all pretty quickly and onboard a new credit union client fairly quickly. The complications come if, probably with the integrations more than anything else. If those are, they might take a little bit of time to do, but usually they're done fairly quickly. So our due diligence package, we send out, it has a lot of company information, tells our clients all about us, provides an executive summary of what we do. There is a kind of summary of our valuation and review policy, where we talk about how we assign orders, how we review orders, how we maintain engagement letters, and that type of thing. Then, huge part of what we do are IT security policy and procedures. We're going to talk a little about IT. Security has become a very large part of what we do, protecting client information, and information that flows through during that appraisal process. Also, of particular importance is that business continuity plan. We actually added onto that a pandemic plan, but we actually utilized our business continuity plan pretty successfully during at the beginning of the pandemic. We were able instantly to send our staff to a remote location and operate successfully in that way. We do provide references. And then as a company, we have a lot of insurance. We have obviously E&O insurance, but we have other types of insurance that we provide to our clients on an as-need basis, as they require. So there is an awful lot of due diligence that goes into us, I guess, being onboarded to a client as a vendor, and working, with a new credit union. It can be done fairly quickly, but compliance has become a huge part of what we all do and work in at this time. So information technology, we have a lot in our system, and we work on our email. We work under an enterprise class Microsoft 365 that has a lot of security features in it to protect our clients and our appraisers and their information. We utilize SharePoint as a storage point for all our policies and procedures, our H&R information. A lot of your information is stored in there, and it's obviously passcode protected, and we protect everything in that way. We use Value Track. That is our order management system. You see it just as it comes up as True Units, cloud-based, and it has a lot of, again, security features in it. And then we use various integrations back and forth, Black Knight being probably the largest one we have. And we utilize them for our AVM products. So they're probably a pretty major part of our technology features. As I said, we also integrate with a lot of the LOS systems our clients have. We use QuickBooks as an accounting feature too, and that integrates with our system too. So that manages our accounting functions. So those are all the things that go into our technology side. So just going back to that technology side, I just want to kind of say another couple of things. Everything is backed up every single evening. All of our computers are backed up. This actually was tested, unfortunately. Last year, we lost one of our compliance manager, got sick and finally passed away. And but her system was backed up. We were able to retrieve everything out of her computer, and so it worked. And it's just a part of what we have to do. So new orders, how do they come in? Well, they're entered by the credit union either through the LOS system, or they come straight into TruUnion's OMS system. So in the case of an integration, I think probably the most popular LOS system with our credit unions is probably Encompass. I'm probably going to say this all wrong for our credit unions who are on this call, but basically they're able to pretty much press a button or do something fairly, click a button, I guess would be, and able to order the appraisal from us. And the order comes into our system complete with documents. So if it's a purchase, you know, the contract, new construction plans and specs, whatever documentation comes in will come into our system. And then it's grabbed. Everything in our system is on a queue base. So there will be a queue that's new orders that comes in, and our partner relations specialist will check the following. The first important thing is the due date. We gotta have a target to hit. And so we ensure that we know what the due date is. And then they'll check to make sure the property type and form type match up, that it is a single family property and it's going to go on a 1004. It's not a condominium going on a 1004 or whatever that is. We also will make sure those documents are there if it's a purchase or for new construction, and those would be opened up for our appraisers as necessary. And then any lender notes. This is very important. You know, the borrower can only be contacted on, you know, Monday morning between noon and 2 or whatever it is. Or this is a house that has whatever. Or there is a dog in a cage in the garage. Whatever lender notes there are, they check for and make sure that those are transcribed and go to the appraiser as necessary. So that's how those orders come in. And then we place those orders, and of course you'll want to know how we place them. They are obviously on a rotation, and we will, that order is placed under a certain order. There is an order. We will use the preferred panel of our credit union. We kind of explain that. Many of our credit unions, we are the only AMC they've ever used. And before they used us, they managed the system themselves. And of course, they had a panel of appraisers, and they have a history with those appraisers. And so, you know, we want to make sure that we maintain that history. And so we will use their preferred panel. And that's kind of, as years go by, that kind of goes away a little bit, but that still exists. We look at the distance from the property, the number of orders completed, what the average turn time is, and we check for probationary or watch list status. So those are the things that we look at when we place an order. So here's a screenshot of what it all looks like. It's come in to us. This is what this order came in via an integration. You can see there's an Encompass. It's how it came in. And it came in from one of our credit unions, and all the information is in there. There's the order date, appraiser due date, the client due date. You see we built in a little bit of time for us to review it. And the address of the property and other order details. It's an origination, a purchase, and there's the sales price right there on the order. So this is the kind of assign process. You'll see the appraisers that are coming up and how they come up. You see these guys are just probationary, and sometimes we have people on our watch list. So why does someone go onto our watch list? Very good question, right? Our watch list does not mean that you will not get appraisal orders. Once you are not removed, you have not been, you would, if we remove an appraiser, let's just say this, if we remove our appraiser from our panel, you will get written warning that you're being removed from our panel in accordance with state requirements. We do have appraisers that we have on the watch list, and typically it's because of excessive turn times that you have consistently gone beyond the due date, and you've done that badly. It's not just once. We understand that, you know, somebody's computer breaks down and you're going to be late with an assignment. Things happen. We really understand this. This is something where we got to throw up our hands and go, hey, you won't work. You're kind of going down the list a bit because you have been consistently late, or your reports have consistent and multiple errors that require a lot of work. That does not mean that you've done something necessarily wrong. It's just that they're sloppy, and that's consistent. So it does happen. We do have appraisers that go onto our watch list, but on the other side, you may be located in an area where you may be on a watch list, but located in an area that has not got a lot of appraisers, and we still will be using you. But essentially, it gives us the thing that we will have to manage you closer, I guess. We will watch you closer. You may get more reminders on due dates than other people. We will ensure that you go to the top of the line on QC, because we understand maybe if it's a QC item that that it may take longer to get a report in, a credible report in. And so that's what that watch list is. So just being perfectly open on that so that you understand exactly what that is. So you go out and do your appraisal, and you do your inspection, and you write your report as an appraiser, and you send it back in again, and it goes into our QC list. Kind of part of that QC package are kind of 5 parts. The QC team manage the initial review. They manage revision requests. Those requests going out, and those completed reports coming back in again and reviewing them again. They will put the final kind of thing that that the assignment has been reviewed, and we'll add the relevant checklists that go to our clients. They will manage the underwriting conditions as they come back and our reconsiderations of value. And our QC manager actually manages those reconsiderations of value that we all love and hate. So this is kind of what our QC block looks like on in our system. You see, I kind of picked up that QC myself. When the report comes in, oops, let's go back to that, sorry. You'll see there's a whole list of attachments on this. So we got the purchase agreement that came in on the original appraisal. There is the order that went out to the appraiser, and that will include the letter of engagement, which I will show you. There is the agreement with the appraiser to perform that assignment. And then the appraisal comes in obviously as a PDF and an XML, and it will create automatically the SSR, the Fannie Mae SSR. So that automatically gets created. So our letter of engagement, you guys who are appraisers have all seen these. These are, the letter of engagement, there are parts of it that are standard. Every credit union will have certain things and certain links. So you'll see links to the Fannie Mae standardized property measuring guidelines and things like that we try and put in there for everyone. And then there will be specific things that an individual client might require. So one credit union might prefer that all comps have the same bedroom count. There is one that does that. That doesn't mean that that has to be, but you have to make an explanation if one of your comps is not the same bedroom count. So those individual requirements are also included in that engagement letter. And the kind of good thing about working with us as an appraiser is that, because we work with credit unions, the credit unions are regional based. So you may be in Peoria, Illinois, and obviously in Peoria, Illinois, big credit union is SEFCU. Well, you're doing all your assignments, or majority of your assignments for SEFCU, so you know what they require. You don't have to read this every single time. So it kind of it works a little easier than some other AMCs because we work with credit unions. The other thing, guys, credit unions are you guys have you don't have a lot of add-ons over and above Fannie Mae requirements. So we don't have a lot of stuff that probably just mucks up that engagement letter. So it's always pretty straightforward. So when we do our QC is related to the engagement letter and the requirements of our individual credit union. So if we need to send you a revision request, we have various drop downs, and there's one down here that you might have seen. Thank you for your report you submitted us. Would you please comment or make changes on the items below? And please remember to change your signature, date, blah, blah, blah. So that's we have drop downs on a lot of that stuff that will go out to you. This is the Fannie Mae SSR. We do review off this SSR. So, and how much we do that is kind of dependent on our credit union, and some credit unions require explanations on every kind of item or finding. Some are more generalized, but we definitely take notice of that risk score. So this one's great. It's a risk score of 1. That's fantastic. And with the understanding that obviously reps and warranties for anything below 2.6 for our credit unions is good. So we try to make sure that that it's looked at and that it may be incorporated into, well, it's always looked at in QC, but it could be incorporated into the whole process. Our QC involves us reading the entire appraisal report and looking at pictures, everything for consistency. So we're making sure that there's a rear picture. If you've got 4 bedrooms, there are 4 bedrooms on the sketch, all that good stuff. Also, our credit unions usually have a checklist, and this is one standard checklist, and some have different ones, and we make sure that everything on the checklist is incorporated. It's fairly straightforward, nothing terribly complicated. Obviously there are additional things. If is the accessory unit checked, and then if it is checked, are there comparables with similar accessory units? Have they been commented? Is there site value included? Is the remaining economic life included? Are the salient features bracketed, et cetera, et cetera? So it's a pretty straightforward checklist that goes to our client. And some are different. Some of the clients have different checklists. This is kind of a mainstay one that I wanted to make sure you saw, because you probably, as an appraiser, would not see this. We have some clients that utilize some automated QC things that we put in. I'm not going to get too involved in that, but there is some automation within the QC process to make sure that, for example, the borrower's name matches the borrower's name in the order, that kind of thing, very kind of straightforward things. But there's no getting over it that QC is predominantly a manual process and a time-consuming one, and very important to our clients. We have a USPAP review checklist too to ensure that some main items, USPAP items, are checked off. This is really for compliance purposes. If one of the states decided to, you know, kind of look at our system, we can kind of show them that we did review for certain USPAP items. Going back to that USPAP thing too, as I said, our QC analysts all have taken and passed USPAP too. A new thing that we have put in is a fair housing checklist. And this is really came out of, I mean, obviously in the last 2 years, there has been a greater awareness of appraiser bias and potential discrimination, and certainly in fair housing issues. So Fannie Mae has kind of, and the CFPB are really looking at compliance, fair housing compliance in the credit unions, particularly in respect to valuation. So we actually have policies and procedures written around appraiser bias, and then we also have a fair housing checklist that utilizes the UAD aggregate statistics dashboard. It really only goes into effect if the SSR shows an undervaluation. And then really if the property is included in an MSA that shows a higher risk of undervaluation. But it is something that we have tested and seems to be working very well. But actually, you guys are doing a good job, and this very rarely comes up. So so far, so we do, but it is there. I want to make sure that you see that. Reconsiderations of value, our favorite. I'm a firm believer in reconsiderations of value. I think in every single profession, guys, I probably have said this in every webinar, but in every single profession, there is an appeal. You have appeals in legal situations, medical situations. People have the ability for a second opinion. You know, you do your taxes, you can have an amended tax report. Not everybody gets everything right the first time around. And there may be other information that is available that may kind of result or could potentially result in a change of value. So I think these reconsideration of value are very important. I would really like to see a lot more consistency throughout the profession on these. And I know that some powers that be have definitely talked about this, about Fannie and Freddie adopting a consistent, uniform reconsideration of value and a procedure around that. I think ours is fairly successful, but I think it would be much better for all our appraisers and our clients if there was just a more consistency. But what I want to say to you that each of these reconsiderations is reviewed individually. So we do read through them. We're not going to send you, let me just tell the appraisers on the webinar, many reconsiderations that never get to you. We just send them right back to the client. We're kind of trying to get all of our credit unions to review these internally before they send them to us. Some of them aren't. Some of them are just sent to us. But there are things like, the appraiser's an idiot. The appraiser doesn't know what they're doing, stupid things that get written into these reconsiderations that we will not tolerate. So, we do expect it to be signed. And we also want to make sure that, that we protect the appraiser from any undue pressure or violations of appraiser independence. And this, we see it sometimes. There are pushes sometimes for multiple reconsiderations, and sometimes a second reconsideration may be warranted if there's additional information, but sometimes it's just, I think it's pressure. It's a violation of appraiser independence, and we have to watch for that. The most important thing, I think, in a reconsideration or an appeal is that it contains sufficient information to support that appeal. Now, we are who we are, situated in Dayton, Ohio, and the appeal may be for a property in Austin, Texas. We don't know necessarily if the sales provided in that reconsideration are absolutely comparable. The appraisers are the people, the experts in the room. So there's only so much due diligence we can do on these, on the review of the reconsideration. So kind of give us a break on some of it. But we do expect those to be completed in a timely fashion. We don't want, the credit union's members to sit out there waiting for them. I have actually, well, not really appealed. I mean, I just noted mistakes in my own appraisal when someone appraised a house for me, of all people. So you don't expect those to be done quickly. And those responses are reviewed by us too. So we don't need appraisers writing in there, well, if the idiot had read the appraisal, they would see that, and we've seen all kinds of things like that. My recent favorite was someone who wrote in a reconsideration that their spouse was an appraiser and just couldn't understand what was going on with the thing. It turned out that our actual appraiser who appraised the property has multiple decades of experience, and the spouse of the borrower who was complaining about the appraisal was a trainee. So, take everything into consideration. So, but they are there, and we do review those, so they are important. Compliance. Compliance is a huge part of what we do. Absolutely huge part of what we do. And it is for our clients too, and I think it is for our appraisers too. So kind of into that compliance bracket, we have a full-time compliance manager who's dedicated to this, 5 days a week. And that's quite, that's an expense for us, but it is to protect everybody and protect our clients and our appraisers. So our compliance takes care of state registrations. We are registered in 45 states. And we are regulated by the state appraisal board in each of those states. And every single one of them has completely different qualifications, ways of going about renewing our registration. This is a lot of stuff. On top of those registrations, we are also required to fill out a national registry for each appraiser that provides a report for us, and that adds up too. I probably have my fingerprints taken, I don't know how many times. Some of these require me to do it every year, so they have background checks. We are required often to have a bond in the States. We are registered as a foreign company in most of the states. And in some states, we are required to, I have to have my state certification there. So this is quite a major thing for us on state registrations. I would love to see it if there was more consistency, but understood that it's states' rights, and that's what happens. We also go through a security audit, SOC audit, and that looks at all the systems that we provide as an AMC, everything from assigning orders, QCing orders, our technology, IT, our payments, how we pay you guys, fair housing, appraiser independence is all covered under our SOC audit when we are audited. And we are audited independently by a firm, a CPA firm. That SOC audit runs for a year. So what they actually, so the one they're writing right now is for 2022. So to kind of give you an example of what might happen, we might say that we pay our appraisers, I don't know, every Friday. So they will require us to show the payments that were issued on a certain date or something like that. So it's to show that controls are in place. And we say that we have two-factor authentication on our password, so we have to kind of prove all that. So it's a major thing, and again, that it's very expensive. So our compliance is a major thing. We verify our engagement letters are up to date. We do this on a periodic basis. That also falls under our SOC audit. We maintain appraiser independence. We have an appraiser independence hotline. And we also kind of report any violations of appraiser independence to our credit union clients and log it too. We have policies and procedures around everything that we do, everything from assigning, QC, paying our appraisers, HR, everything, and that all also falls under our SOC audit. So, and falls under our compliance. We have fair housing compliance. We have fair housing policies and procedures. We have HR compliance to ensure that that our employees are screened and go through a certain process. And then security. I mean, IT security and security of documents and everything else. It's all a major part of what we do. So this is just a kind of screen that shows, this is all in our system. Again, our state registrations or our numbers, our bonds, where they are, and this will notify us when a state registration is about to expire. And then to pay an appraisers. I think very unlike many AMCs, we actually use a payroll service. So as you're aware, we utilize Paycor, and that allows us, to manage it very successfully. It allows us to issue your 1099s on time, which you probably all just got, and just to make sure that everybody's paid once a week who performed assignments for us in a timely fashion. Appraisers Appraisal payments are made in a timely fashion and to meet, that should be or exceed state requirements. And each appraiser receives a detailed invoice per pay period, which looks like this. So however much, if your pay period is invoice period, I don't know why this is 210 to 210, but it's one day, I guess. It shows what you got paid for on that day. So, and that's given to each of our appraisers. Wow, I took exactly 1 hour. Guys, thank you very much for joining us today. This is my email address, scarruthers@treeunion.net. I hope I kind of peel back some of the what's under the cover as far as our AMC, and kind of try to explain what we do. And I really, for both our clients and appraisers, want to be perfectly transparent on everything. There are no secrets, well, I guess there are things that are secure in there, but there are no secrets. We'll gladly tell you whatever we can. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us, and we will talk again soon. Thank you. And also, quickly, I'm also doing this on Thursday afternoon. If you have anybody you know who wants any colleagues, please join me on Thursday. Thank you.